Next is to consider the tank brine system contract award.
Okay, so since I've been in management at the DPW, and it's not my fault or my charge, but we've been moving to a system of using more liquids within the roadways, and really driven by recession, 06, 07, and we saw very large increases in the cost of salt in Michigan and in the region, period. And so it became a push to use liquids, because liquids are more effective. Even if you can just pre-wet the salt that's going down on the roadway, it begins to work faster, and it also doesn't scatter as far because it's weighted down and it's right there on the roadway. To properly fight snow and ice, you need a brine solution. That's what typically Mother Nature would create by us dropping hard salt down on the road, mixing with the snow and ice that's on the roadway, and then creating that brine. If we can create a brine and either apply it directly to the roadway or pre-wet that salt, we get a much better effectiveness to the salt on the road, and we have to use way less. So you have environmental benefits to that, which is a major pusher here because the state just came out with part of their stormwater permit. They're now looking at chlorides, and it's due to salting roadways. There were some studies done in Minnesota starting, and then kind of transitioning over to Michigan, of urban lakes and the buildup of salt and a salt sink within the lakes. And basically, the lakes are becoming more acidic. It's due to the runoff from treatment of roadways. And once we reach a tipping point, then it's going to be tough for aquatic life to live within these lakes. So they're regulating chlorides in this way. We're already at the forefront because we have controllers on our vehicles. This is the next step to both save us the money and also kind of react to these environmental concerns. So we're nowhere near that tipping point at this point, but the problem is it's very difficult to get salt out of water once it's in solution. Ocean, think of the ocean, that stays suspended in that water unless you evaporate the water off. It's very difficult. You may know it takes a lot of energy to remove the salt from water to do a desalinization plant. So it's not like you can just run the water through a wetland like you can with organic pollutants, and that wetland will filter it out. Once it's in the waterway, it's in there. So that's why it's a concern that if, our local lakes here start to turn into salt brine and then you have aquatic life suffering, you're going to have a major issue within the state. So that's why they're regulating it. That's why we're pushing forward both that and a budget concern to position ourselves to make our own brine in-house so we don't have to buy it. We've already got the salt and the water. We have the raw materials. So we're kind of leveraging Farmington Hills and a couple other people that are at the forefront of salt brine. We're leveraging their experience, and we're getting a system. We went out and got the best from Minnesota. That's why we use their bid, their consortium bidding with it. Michigan is behind as far as this goes. So there's not companies in Michigan that specialize as much in this stuff. So that's why we're reaching out and trying to get the best of the best, So we have a system that's idiot-proof, that, both from an environmental perspective and from an operator's perspective, there's not a lot of stuff they have to do when they come up to it. And we're going to set ourselves in place here to basically move into the 21st century, or move to the next level as far as snow and ice control. So,
Any questions?
So it sounds like a move in the right direction, because my questions were specifically, it says, more efficiencies. It's more efficient. You can put it down earlier. It doesn't run off. And of course, the environment was my other issue, which you've already covered. But the only question I have is that it will save us money over time because salt is more expensive, and I hate seeing those huge salt piles where it spits out too much.
Right.
But what is the short term versus the long term in terms of what we have to put in to get ourselves more online to make our own brine versus how much we'll save in the salt process?
Well, it's percentage-wise, as you save about, it costs us pennies a gallon versus it's about 15 cents a gallon if we want it supplied by another entity. So 15 times the savings at that point. Now extrapolate that over the years of the useful life of the product. we are going to make money on it. Well, not make money, but
Save
save
money.
money, you know, and so I can't give you 100% like we'll be sitting on another $100,000 because, you know, that really has a lot to do with the type of winter we have, but it is a way, and it will be controlled by, you know, our controllers, our computer programs to put down the minimal. We can do some of the pre-wetting when we go forward as well, which will save on staff time eventually because we can go out ahead of a storm. Plus, we don't get the situations where you have the bonding of the material to the pavement, which makes it harder to get off, and sometimes we literally can't get it off. So, you know, the savings are from salt use, staff time, vehicles being crashed in poor weather. I can't tell you it's going to be $1 million. I think that's something that we need to evaluate going forward and track, you know, because as we get into the quantities, another thing that kind of makes it more dynamic or muddies the waters more is we have to change the way our trucks are built. And I kind of mentioned that's the first thing we did was make the capacity more to carry brine on the trucks, because right now we're geared up to carry hard salt. So we have to literally take out space to put salt in to put these tanks in. So we're about halfway through that process. So now it makes sense because we can utilize the brine to get that system into place. And then over the next vehicle purchases, we have 14 in our fleet, 7 are kind of retrofitted. As we go and keep buying more plow trucks, this is the way we're going to go. And our plow trucks are going to look a lot different than they do now, because we're going to be you're going to see a lot of tank type stuff. You're going to see live bottoms because we need to basically meter the salt out differently to put the chloride on it. So you're going to see kind of a modernization of the equipment. So, you know, if you think of those investments in the equipment, and it becomes, you know, pretty nebulous, but I will report back on that and what we get, and dollars and cents in salt use, we will see a difference.
Well, that's great. It sounds like a win-win, and I know Minnesota's probably a great model for us because I know they get hammered a lot worse than we do for weather, and I appreciate you moving us in the right direction.
And this really started with Tom, you know, my predecessor. Luckily, he had an open mind towards it, you know, and that allowed Dwayne Poole, who is, you know, our superstar foreman in the road department, to, you know, kind of start to design his view of how we're going to move forward. And in all likelihood, this isn't going to be completed when I'm even here. So this is going to be a progression that's going to, you know, we're at the start of it, but I don't know where the end is, you know. So.
Not allowed to leave. What are you talking about?
Well, we're talking a 15, 20 year, you know what I mean? The whole complexion could change before then, you know, so.
Neil.
Thanks. That was nice of you to mention Tom Trice, because I remember when he did start that, but you've really taken it to another level, and appreciate that. You've been very proactive. A lot of the surrounding communities are using brine, and it's, as you mentioned, it's very environmentally friendly, and much more so than salt, but most importantly, or as importantly, is it's a budgetary savings to us, and I think the most important thing out of everything is to help keep the roads as safe as possible for our residents and the people who drive on our roads. So, I mean, it is a very positive approach that you're taking, and proactive, as I mentioned, and keep moving the township moving forward and doing positive things, as opposed to, you know, as technology and efficiencies change. It's good that you're doing that because it helps everybody. So I applaud you for that.
So Noah, like in Farmington Hills, before a storm, we're likely to see then kind of like combed fluid on the road, where you'll see 3 or 4 inches apart, and it just constantly.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of pre-wetting in
Yep.
Farmington Hills. And, you know, another point I'll make up is, and I live in Farmington Hills, so I see the benefits of it.
Yep.
You know, and so and it is visible. You can see it on the roadway. I hear the predictions, right, for snow on Thursday or Thursday night, and I'm thinking, okay, overtime, we're going to have people in early Friday morning. But if it's a 1 to 2 inch storm and we can do pre-wetting, we won't be out in those cases, you know. And so additionally, what we're seeing more in the last few years is not the quantity of snow, but it's these transitional storms that have ice associated with them, and it's a great asset for that type of a storm.
Yeah, I think more than budgetary, I mean, that's going to be great, but really dealing with the snow in advance is going to be much safer. Well, it's not really even the snow, it's the ice. And it's, you know, when you see it, when after the plows come through and there's that, because they can't get down that low, this will prevent it even from icing up initially, so that when they go plow it off, it all comes off. So it's going to be great for safety.
With 12 drivers, it takes us 16 hours to get through the township, so it's definitely going to provide that buffer as well, you know, to maybe, you know, the areas that we're going to hit last, maybe you hit them with the pre-wet ahead of time, then you do your conventional on the other areas to just, you know, hedge your bets in that case. You know, I'm still going to have to make the bet on whether we send them out on Thursday versus coming in on Friday, so I'm still going to have to make that call with my staff's help, you know, but it takes some of the pressure off.
You've done a great job, and I think this is going to help you get even further along the road.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I look for a motion.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Barnett,
Or
support by treasurer Keeps. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass.